Have you ever really thought about how we build strength when the world feels, well, kind of harsh? We're going to dive into a pretty amazing story today that explores exactly that, how a quiet imagination can actually become this powerful fortress against all sorts of hardship.
So, this quote, it's our window into the world of a young boy named Lino. You know, he's the kind of kid who might not make a lot of noise, but inside, he's dealing with some really painful stuff, being misunderstood, getting bullied. But this isn't just a story about sadness. Oh no, it's about what starts to grow in that silence.
And that really sets up the central conflict for Leno, doesn't it? It's this constant battle between the world he has to face every day at school and this incredibly rich, complex world he started building inside his own head. The contrast between these two, that's where things get really interesting.
I mean, just look at this. It's such a painful disconnect, isn't it? On one side, you have these awful, sharp labels the world is just throwing at him, words that are designed to hurt. But on the other side, that's who he really was. He was kind, gentle, and had this amazing imagination. He wasn't defined by their words. He was defined by his character. And that gap right there, that's the space where he learned to build a world of his own.
And here's the thing, Lino didn't just sit there and take it. He actively went looking for a safe place. He dove headfirst into stories, into games, into comics. And it wasn't just to escape. He was searching for inspiration. He was looking for all the pieces he needed to build the hero he wanted to become.
And his sources of inspiration were such a cool mix. You've got everything from the goofy fun of Archie comics to these epic, world-changing battles in Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! His imagination was just soaking all of this in. And none of it was just entertainment for him. Nope, these were like blueprints. Blueprints for courage, for friendship, for strength. But, out of all those amazing stories, there was one theme that just grabbed him and wouldn't let go: transformation. This idea that regular, ordinary kids could suddenly become these powerful heroes, these defenders of justice, kind of like in Power Rangers. That really struck a chord with him. It planted this little seed of an idea that maybe, just maybe, even someone who feels small can become something so much more.
Okay, and this is where everything changes. Because Lino stops just watching stories and starts creating them. He literally begins to take the pain, those feelings of being weak, and he starts to forge them into something totally new, something powerful.
This chart is amazing because it shows you exactly how his mind worked. So take Granite's. It was born from the pain of being shoved against the wall, right? So it becomes this unbreakable protector. Lumina was inspired by feeling powerless. So what does it do? It turns other kids into heroes. And then there's Clumbino, a response to being called clumsy. Its power is to heal people with laughter. Every single monster was a direct answer to a specific wound.
And maybe Clumbino is the most important one of all, because instead of trying to get rid of his so-called flaws, his awkwardness, his clumsiness, Lino embraced them. He made a hero who was strong because of those qualities, not in spite of them. He was finding strength not in being perfect, but in just being himself.
So all this incredible creative work, it was building towards something even deeper. We're about to go into Lino's most private space, his bedroom, where this really simple, repetitive thing he did became a ritual for taking on some of life's biggest questions.
Now you might think he was punching the pillow out of anger, right? But that's not what was happening at all. This rhythmic tossing, it was almost like a form of meditation. It was a physical rhythm for the mental battles he was fighting. It was his way of trying to make sense of the world, all in the safety of his own room.
And as that pillow went up and down, so did his thoughts. He wasn't just thinking about the kids on the playground anymore. He was grappling with these huge, fundamental questions of morality. He was asking himself,
why do bad people seem to have power over the good? He was trying to figure out this incredibly frustrating thing about power and injustice that he was seeing everywhere.
And then he'd take it even a step further, asking why sometimes the people who are supposed to be the protectors, like soldiers or policemen, why do they sometimes become the villains? He was seeing that the lines between good and evil weren't always so clear. I mean, that's a level of moral complexity that a lot of adults still struggle with.
So let's just zoom out for a second and put all these pieces together. What Lino was doing, it wasn't just escapism. Not at all. It was an active, deliberate process of construction. He was building an internal fortress, an entire architecture of resilience, and his imagination was the main tool.
See, the Lego monsters, the stories, those quiet rituals with the pillow, they weren't just distractions. They were vessels for his emotions. Yeah, they held his fears, but way more importantly, they held his hope and his deep,
deep longing to be strong and good in a world that just didn't always make sense.
And if you break it down, you can actually see the process, this incredible 4-step method he was using, probably without even realizing it. First, he absorbed everything from the outside world, the bad and the good. Then, he retreated to his safe space to process it all. From there, he created brand new symbols of power out of those experiences. And finally, the most important step, he integrated those symbols back into himself, building real, tangible strength.
And after all of that, after everything he went through, this was his anchor. Despite all the negativity, his core belief never, ever broke. He held on tight to the idea that being good, that being kind, that wasn't a weakness. It was the ultimate strength, and it was something worth fighting for.
Lino's story really shows us that our inner worlds are places of just immense power. And it leaves us with a question to think about, a really important one. When you face your own challenges, what do you build inside? What are the monsters of hope and the rituals of strength that make up the secret architecture of your own quiet heart?